This is episode 5 of the X-Rays Forensics Quick Start Guide in video form. This one is about refining the volume snapshot. To understand what it is we're refining, the volume snapshot itself is X-Rays Forensics' idea as to what files and directories exist. In other words, X-Rays Forensics uses the volume snapshot to create this tree. It uses the volume snapshot to show us the detail we see in the directory browser, irrespective of which files and folders we choose to have listed. X-Rays Forensics keeps a list of all these files and directories in the form of the volume snapshot. Initially, that list is predominantly informed by the information available from the file system. However, further information can be unearthed with specific functions, for example by running certain tests against all the different files, or perhaps by attempting to unearth further previously existing files which the current file system no longer recognizes or remembers. All of these functions, all of these refinements have been collected into a single dialog window, which you can find by going to the specialist menu, Refine Volume Snapshot, or by simply pressing F10 on your keyboard. In the Refine Volume Snapshot menu, you have a variety of functions at your disposal. The file system data structure search and the file header signature search attempt recovery of previously existing files. You can tell X-Rays Forensics to hash every single file with 1 or even 2 hash values of your own choosing. You can have all files type tested, and this I will use as my first demonstration. I tick Verify File Types with signatures and algorithms. I click OK, and X-Rays Forensics performs this test. If I, for example, have a look at the pictures directory here, you can see there's a file called Earth at Night. Earth at Night has no extension, so based on its name, the approach that Windows obviously would use, no identification of file type would be possible. The verify file types, the function we have just run, however, does identify this as indeed being a JPEG. So the verify file types function either simply confirms or, if possible and necessary, overrides the file type as identified by the name. The type filter, as used in a previous episode, still set to JPEG if activated, now does filter Earth at Night. A similar effect can be seen with the Grand Canyon here, which also does not have an extension, but it does now have a type JPEG. In other words, the type filter gets a better result after verifying file type because improvements like this can be performed. Other things Refined Volume Snapshot has to offer include the ability to have the contents of archives, of email archives, or indeed files embedded into files of other types listed as independent items in the volume snapshot. By independent, I mean they can be filtered on their own terms. A picture embedded in a Word document would then be identifiable as a picture, even though the file containing it, of course, is not. Other things the Refined Volume Snapshot can do includes picture analysis and processing, notably the skin tone and black and white detection in pictures if I run this. X-Rays Forensics shows an analysis column for skin tone. Or if I explore recursively and sort by this, you will see that the highest scoring images, if I turn on the gallery, tend to be in a color range that is broadly in the line of skin. That does not strictly speaking mean that all images show skin, it's just that their colors are more promising than those of the low scoring ones. If I look at some of these, you will see that they are predominantly gray, green or blue. Another function of the Refined Volume Snapshot is the ability to have internal metadata extracted. Extracting internal metadata populates additional columns in the directory browser. What it does is, well, these columns aren't presently visible, but there are now columns which have additional detail. As you can see in my current setup, I've got 3 timestamp columns: created, modified, record changed. All 3 of these are derived from the file system. If I click here to get to the directory browser options, or of course to the options menu, you can see the list of available columns. Not all of these, in fact only a fraction of them, are presently visible. To make an additional column visible, in this case I would specifically like to see the content created date and the metadata columns. I will actually give it, as you can see here, it says column width in pixels. I will give it a larger starting value for this one outright. I now get additional timestamps. If I, for example, go to this docs directory, which contains a variety of Office documents, you can see that quite a few of them do now show a content created date. In other words, the internal created date, according to their own file metadata, is now shown in the content created column, in addition to the created date according to the file system. This can be of particular value to files that don't have a created date for one reason or another, for example because they're carved, or if the file has been copied to a different drive in the meantime and you're looking at a copy where the created date itself is no longer the original created date, the internal might show the original creation much better. Also visible, as you can see, is the metadata column, and here in this column you can see various pieces of metadata extracted from the different files. Which exact metadata, of course, depends on the nature of the file and the information it happens to have available. These pieces of metadata, like all columns in the directory browser, are available for reporting as well. As you might recall from a previous episode, important files can be added to report tables, and those in turn can be included in the report. At the reporting stage, any and all columns can be chosen for output in the report, this one included. This one can also be filtered for. If I explore recursively and filter, for example, for, well, in the simplest case, any, that would mean show me only files that actually have any values in this column, or if that's a bit too generic, I could simply say show me anything that contains the word Henry. And when I do, I see anything that has the name Henry, as you can see in various guises here, as the author in most cases, in this case as the creator. Filtering for the name Canon, for example, shows me only files that have the word Canon in their metadata, which, unsurprisingly, is a list of pictures.